So it turns out that the one who killed all those people in that mall in Allen, Texas, was a neo-Nazi. He had Nazi tattoos, and he had a patch on him as he was mowing people down. He had a patch on him that said RWDS, Right Wing Death Squads. And the term right wing death squads is used by neo Nazis. It has been used by the Nazis on 4chan. The first time that I heard this term was on a song that was made by a Nazi musician who called himself Blink 1488. He simply took the band name Blink 182 and changed it to Blink 1488. And he just took Blink 182 songs and made the lyrics Nazi. He just put in Nazi lyrics. And he made a song called Right Wing Death Squads. And in the song, he would sing, "We're going to arm you, we're going to train you, bring back right wing death squads." And he sang in this song, "Bring back the ovens, this time for real," referencing the ovens that were used by the Nazis in the Holocaust, and then implying that the Holocaust didn't happen, but that in the future, they're going to cook Jews in the ovens, and this time it's going to be for real. It's not going to be fake. It's absolutely evil. And this is the type of evil that is in our midst in society. This guy had Nazi tattoos. He praised Hitler. He would make these Nazi posts with swastikas. And his name was Mauricio Garcia. Who would think that a Nazi would have a Hispanic name? Well, they exist. Hispanic Nazis exist. They're all over Latin America, especially Argentina, but you can find them in Mexico. And I've met them. When I lived in Mexico, we had a session in class where the teacher would bring up an atrocity that was done during the Holocaust, and then she would ask the class, is the person or the people who committed these crimes, are they guilty or are they innocent? And she brought up the example of a Nazi officer shooting a Jewish person in the back of the head. And the entire class, except for myself and another student who was Jewish, said, not guilty, innocent. Everyone in that class, except for myself and another student, said that Nazi was not guilty. And then she brought up the corporation that makes the gas for the gas chambers. Guilty or innocent or not guilty. And again, everyone in the class, except for myself and that other student, said, not guilty. And one girl in the class said, well, the company is not guilty because they're not making a profit out of it. This is what she said. And this was in Mexico. The teacher brought up the example of somebody pulling the lever that releases the gas into the gas chamber to kill people. And again, same thing. Everyone in the class, except for myself and that Jewish student, said, not guilty, because they were just following orders. That was in Mexico. And then I met a trad Catholic, a traditionalist Catholic who was from Guadalajara. I met him years ago, and he told me that he was studying German, and his wife confided to me that he LARPs as a Nazi, and that he literally goose steps because he admires the Nazis. And he was a Mexican Nazi. And he was a Holocaust denier, I believe. I'm pretty certain he was a Holocaust denier. And he admired the Nazis. So I've met them. They exist. They're out there. Mexican Nazis exist, everyone. It's not an oxymoron, or it's not something that's extremely shocking. It shouldn't be that shocking. They exist. And in Latin America, there's a whole bunch of them, especially when you go to Argentina or Chile. There's a lot of Nazis down there because a lot of Nazis escaping Germany went there and they settled there. But there are a lot of Nazis. You can find them in Central America. You can find them in Mexico. Yeah, Latin America is riddled with Nazis. So this is yet another example of Nazi terrorism in the United States. I know that a lot of conservatives are a little bit hesitant to talk about these sorts of things because they just want to make it about leftism and the left, and they just want to make it about how evil the SJWs are. The SJWs are bad, don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of really terrible and evil people on the left, don't get me wrong. I mean, look at cities that are ran by leftists and Democrats. They're riddled with crime, especially when you go to Chicago or San Francisco or Detroit. These are crime-ridden cities because leftist liberals, American liberals, they tend to be very lenient on crimes and criminals, and that is a problem. But there's also a problem in right-wing circles with neo-Nazis. They do exist. And there have been massacres in the United States done by Nazis. Back in 2019, there was a massacre in an El Paso Walmart in which I believe 23 people were murdered. In Buffalo, there was a massacre of African Americans by a neo-Nazi, and 10 people were murdered. Now we have this Allen Mall massacre, 9 people murdered. This is a problem. And the conservatives and the liberals, they want to make it a gun issue. Conservatives say, they want to take away our guns, and the liberals say it's about guns, and the problem is evil. That's just the bottom line. The problem is evil. And I think that conservatives really need to confront this issue more and more, especially with zeal and intensity, because right-wing populism and nationalism is becoming more and more popular. Its popularity has been growing, I would say, since 2014 with the beginning of the refugee crisis in Europe, and it's increasing. It's increasing in Europe, it's increasing in the United States, and we need to address the problems with nationalism. We need to address the problems because there's a lot of hysteria, and there are a lot of people who are extremely hysterical, and they may have very violent knee-jerk reactions. And when you have people saying, "Oh, we're being invaded by Hispanics, we're being invaded by migrants, or being invaded by foreigners," and they bring about this polarizing ideology, we shouldn't be surprised when we see acts of violence such as the one that took place in El Paso, or the Buffalo shooting and all that. So the problem with nationalism is that there is no rule that nationalism can't be racist, right? Nationalism can definitely be racist and eugenist and Darwinistic and extremely violent. And so this is a problem that must be confronted. And all the people who say that cops are racist and cops are the muscle for a racist system, who stopped this racist? It was a police officer. It doesn't surprise me that there are Nazis in the United States. I mean, this is a country that has for years been backing Ukrainian nationalism. So there's that. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.